Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure, of course, as always, to subscribe. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, so help me get there. It would be an honor and a pleasure if you could help me get to the subscriber count of 10,000. Make sure to smash the like button, leave your comments. For all of your real estate needs in South Florida, make sure to reach out to me. I'd love to help you. Just got a lease closed in Aventura,
Mm-hmm.
and we are about to close on a sale in Hallandale. So that's really exciting. Mr. Barak Swartz, it is such an honor to have you for round two, man. You've
Round
been
two, here
doing,
we are.
dude, you've been doing such amazing things since the last time we spoke. Notably, you were on Roseanne Barr's podcast, which is extremely exciting. I haven't finished it yet, so I'm going to finish it, God willing, today. But dude, that's so cool.
First of all, thank you for having me back on. It's also, I'll get to the Roseanne thing in a second. I'll throw it
Yeah.
back at you, man.
I Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, what'd you say?
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I just
No,
wanted to finish introducing you. I'll do that after you say what you're gonna say.
I'll follow your lead, but this is your platform, right? But I just wanted to say that the first time we spoke, I want to say that you had maybe not cracked 2000 and now you're about to hit 10. We're gonna send people over from the OtherBarak channel to get you to 10, which is sick. So brick by brick, dude. I mean, brick by brick, like everybody's at their own pace. So once you hit 10, you'll see what happens. Something mentally, you unlock this new, it's a vault, I call it. And once you get there, watch, you're gonna go harder than you already are. I promise you. Because you realize you just it's like a win that you once you touch and you feel, you realize that people now it's your responsibility to give them more. That's what happens when you hit 10,000. If you don't fulfill that responsibility, they're gonna leave. So hold you accountable to that. But yeah, thanks for having me back on, man. Next time when I see you, inshallah, you'll be at 20.
That's a really, really powerful thing, and I appreciate that because that. It's a congratulations with a little punch, and it's really good. I appreciate that, man. I do.
Well, I don't want to pat your back and rub it and say, great job, man. I'm going to give you your flowers,
Mhm.
but I don't ever want people who are doing good work to ever be complacent. The second you become complacent is the second that, a good friend will call you and say, you're not at the top of the mountain. You're never really at the top of the mountain. So, and I'm saying this as somebody who's still trying to always build. Keep trying to always build. But once you hit 10, you're going to see like gear goes in from 2 to 3 and you can't go back to second gear. If you go back to second gear, people are going to hold you accountable. So, and that's why you have people like me and Tal to sort of like help along the way because you can't do it all. And, I didn't do this on my own. Tal's a big reason I'm where I am today. I talk about that all the time.
Right, right.
So, for you, Achi, Mazal Tov, we're gonna get you to 10.
I'm so excited. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
No, I love, bro. I love this family. It's so special.
that's what we do.
Guys, if you haven't watched the first episode that Barack and I recorded together, I would love for you to do so. But here we are now, and so I'd like to introduce Barack properly. Barack is based in Boston originally, right? He lives in Israel for a couple of years now. He has his channel OtherBarak. He's been recording for several years. He does reactions. He's done interviews. He has a very, very impressive channel. Um, where are you at now? You're at 220, 250. Where are you
Yeah,
now?
somewhere in that range. 220,
Yeah.
222.
Yeah. Amazing channel. And of course he covers Israel, he covers the conflict. He does so in a loving way. He does so in a very direct way nonetheless, like myself. And there's something I really love and appreciate is that he does his courts and conflicts talk, where he invites people onto the basketball court for a short discussion to either get to know them, to discuss their thoughts on what's going on in the Middle East. Something I really enjoy because he's a baller. He's been playing basketball for many, many years, coached basketball as well, continues to do so, I believe.
Hmm.
And so a man of many talents, quite a versatile young lad. So thank you, man. Thank you for joining. And I do want to jump in quickly to the Roseanne Barr pod. I want to just kind of talk about your experience with that. It must be surreal. She's a household name. My grandmother passed about a month ago, and she was a
Sorry to hear that.
huge fan of Roseanne Barr. So I call Roseanne Bubby Barr. She's Bubby Barr to
Bubby
me.
Barr. I haven't heard that one yet. I've heard quite the rundown list of nicknames the past few hours just because it did literally get released last night, but or the day before, I forget. So in 2024, I was streaming in the same seat I'm talking to you from right now. And on YouTube, when you're live streaming, you can give a super chat, which is like a financial contribution to the person who's streaming. And typically, people who are willing and able will give you somewhere between $1 or $2 or 3 rand or, $4 Australian, whatever the currency is from where they're streaming from. So the most money I'd ever sort of received from a follower or a subscriber, it was like $20 at that point. Towards the tail end of the stream that evening, I think I was talking about Brianna Gray, if I'm getting her name correctly. A username with the name Granny Rose, and all of it is anonymous, just like popped in, and in the middle of a spiel I was giving, I saw $500 appear on my screen. And you haven't finished the podcast, Rafi, but when you do, I actually show her and her son Jake in her house this exact moment so that they could see the moment that I realized, or sorry, that she came in. So it's actually kind of cool if you want to go watch it. And I freaked out. You can see in the video, I start cursing all like everywhere. And I said, whoever you are, please identify yourself because it just said Granny Rose.
Yeah.
And I said, if you're listening and you're still on the stream, please just send me an email, whoever you are, God bless you. I end the stream. Then 10 minutes, I received an email with all capital letters in the subject line. Hi, it's Roseanne Barr. Now, initially I freaked out, but then I said, I'm getting played because there's no way Roseanne Barr was just watching OtherBarak, little OtherBarak. But then I said, why would I get played and they would also drop 500? That's an incredibly high amount of money to give somebody if you're just trying to, F with them. So I emailed back and lo and behold, it was her. And we maintained this email relationship for a while, which then I went over to speak to her son. Her son manages basically her, Jake. He's an awesome dude. And the 2 months ago, I was in the United States for three big podcasts, and she was one of them. So I went over to Texas, is where they are, and I actually ended up not only doing the podcast with them. We recorded it on the eve of Rosh Hashanah. So I actually spent the Jewish New Year with her and her entire family. I was at her house the whole day. Uh,
Oh, that's so exciting.
I got, an hour with her before the pod outside, and then me, her, and Jake, we recorded for about 2 hours. And then after the podcast, Roseanne and I'll never forget this. It's crazy, man. I got chills. Like we sat on her porch outside, me and Roseanne, for 5 hours together. And we talked about some of the deepest stuff in the world about her life and my life. And we just opened up. And it's just one of those energetic frequencies that when you have with someone, you just open up quickly. And I didn't really know her in person until that day, but
Mm-hmm.
she gives you that opportunity and she is a wealth of knowledge. So I got in 10 hours such valuable time with Roseanne. And this is a woman who's at one point was one of the more famous people in the world. Like her son was telling me about the security detail that they used to have with him. She would go around in public. She was one of the most sought out individuals. And there I am in rural Texas, sitting with her on her porch, talking about like some really deep shit about her and her life, her personal life, and then mine. And then we spend Rosh Hashanah together. Like we order food, and I'm celebrating the Jewish New Year. It was all, it was all there was 3 or 4 times during the podcast. You can't really tell on camera, but I blacked out a few times. Like when I was looking at her and I like go like and I just don't because in my brain I flatlined. I was like, that's Roseanne, Because so
I know how that feels, man. I because like I remember who did I have that with? Been a couple of guests in my first year or two of podcasting. When I had Muhammad Ali's ex-wife in my apartment.
wow,
This was early on, man. This was maybe a couple of
that
months
sounds like a
into my pod.
story.
I
Jesus.
looked at her. She was on my couch, and I looked at her, and I'm like, I have Muhammad Ali's ex-wife in my apartment. And I was looking, I was like, is this happening right now?
Is it a
I couldn't believe,
simulation? That's what I said to
bro, I
myself.
couldn't believe, isn't it insane what just you created something out of thin air. You created this channel, this content, and now you're sitting across from Roseanne Barr because she thinks your words are valuable enough. This woman, like you said, was incredibly well known. I mean, for different reasons. I mean, she had all these, the spouts with the hospitals and the mental
Hmm.
stuff and whatever.
Hmm.
The woman nonetheless has such a level of brilliance. If you really
Oh,
listen to what she's saying, um, man, that must be
can I,
incredible.
I just want to add something. This is really important. And this is only going to hit for people who I would say have a higher consciousness than most people in the world right now. When you're a famous person like Roseanne Barr or Scooter Braun or
Hmm.
Michael Rappaport or any of these people, and you have a public appearance in the world on the internet, in person, on stage, and there's information accessible to the public about you, 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10, what will happen to that person is those who either envy him or her or try to disrupt or destruct what him or her they have built. The information that is accessible will then be hijacked by people who want to use it for malintent. This is absolutely what happened to Roseanne, and it's what happened. LeBron James has plenty of people in the world who despise him and have tried to take elements of his public life and use it against him to make other people think and feel
Right.
that he's also bad. So where am I going with this? The merit and value to, and you know this because you spent it with, for example, Muhammad Ali's ex-wife, so you could probably attest to this. But when you have human to human, face to face eye contact, offline, no cameras, and you are just person relationship, that raw authenticity, which is never shown on camera, that is the person at their core that you get to see. And there's no edited YouTube videos and there's no blips from comedy performances from Roseanne. And I get to say that because that's what I did for 7 hours of my time. I looked at her in the eye and I sat with her and she was pretty vulnerable with me, bro. Like she told me stuff that is not on the internet. And so
Right.
I sat there and it goes, I talk about it with Scooter Braun too. Scooter and I have connected. We connected in 2024 and I spent one-on-one time with him off camera, and everything that you see in the world about him and Taylor Swift and this and that, it's so easy for people who operate at a very low consciousness and vibration to immediately just pick those up too as elements of, oh, that's a bad person. So for all of the people who just slapped these labels onto somebody like Roseanne Barr, I'm living, walking, breathing proof that that is not the entire makeup of that individual. And we need to do a better job as human beings to just not react that way when we see somebody who's a public figure. It's such BS. And
Hmm.
I'm spending more and more time with people who have been in these kinds of rooms. And it's so clear to me when you get them offline and just like, she was wearing her PJs. She wasn't like, she was in her
Hmm.
PJs, no makeup on. We were just smoking a cigarette. Like we were just pulling like tarot cards. Like we were like just chilling, bro. Like
Sounds
that's
awesome.
yeah, and no one sees that. So I'm saying I just want to, because I saw in the comments of the video, I read all the comments for better or for worse, and you could see people who are just like, oh, she's a cokehead, she's possessed, she's this and that, and it's like people never have enough context, ever, never ever have enough
Yeah.
context. So I just emphasizing that didn't want to go on a huge rant, but just I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's very hard to be in the spotlight anyway. It's putting yourself out there. It has its pros, sure,
Hmm.
but is a
Correct.
level of vulnerability people don't realize, and people get really nasty, especially when you do something at a high level and you're doing something that you're passionate about,
Yeah.
that really completes you. So for with Roseanne in comedy, it was so natural to her. She excelled at it at such a high level. People are really nasty, man. People will look to tear you down. It's really
Hmm.
true.
Hmm.
And some people will really go out of their way to try to do it. It's impressive. Um, so so yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome that you got to talk to her. Now, I want to shift a little bit, related, but a little different in Israel in general. Okay. Now, as you know, we had this, and it's still ongoing, this hostage deal. We're still waiting for dead hostages to come back to be returned. Do you think that's likely? Do you think Hamas even has these bodies? Do you think they know where all of them are?
I think me, you, and the viewers
Hmm.
don't know half of the truth. I think what we think is real time, as in the things that we're seeing that are published now as we're making this video, or the ones that came out an hour ago, I think your perception and my perception of live, updated, just in news is not a reflection of what's really happening live, updated, and just in. I think it's distorted. I'm saying this because we pour a ton of time and energy into speculation. We speculate so much about the unknown. Not that it's bad to do that. I think it's healthy in to a certain extent. But I think my worldview of media and the news at this point, this far into my sort of advocacy career, is that I have massive, I don't want to call it trust issues, but I really have learned to be objective when looking at information. And nobody really trains us to be objective looking at information. I'm going somewhere with this. So I think a lot of us are emotionally driven when we see these headlines, when we see what's going on with the hostage deal and what's the fact that the deceased hostages and dead bodies are. And so we all speculate, are we going to get them? Is Hamas going to give them to us? Is the IDF going to? What we have seen is since the ceasefire agreement, there has been a sort of this cascade weekly of bodies being found. And in fact, some of them that were either returned to Israel were not necessarily the correct bodies that were supposed to be given back to Israel. But there have been bodies found. So I I think we in the timing around that is really interesting. Um, you see, we saw the video with Hamas trying to stage them digging up and finding one about a week and a half ago, whenever that was. There's all this stuff, man. Like when we are at the expense of them making money off of our attention. And that's to me is bothersome because all of this negative, fear-based media stuff is making us go deeper into these emotional tracks where I'm trying to be more objective. It's hard for me to answer your question because frankly, man, I feel like I don't have enough information to answer it. I don't think that we have all the information. And I'm saying that to you on both sides because there's just because, like there's definitely something to be said about a level of security and protection, which is very understandable that a sovereign country's military needs to protect. The IDF is not going to tell Rafi and Barak and everyone watching the entire full transparent story because they can't. It's an army and they have a Mossad and they have an agency and they have to protect information. So I think that they shouldn't tell us all the truth, right? Because we're
Right.
trying to accomplish a mission here. So I like I don't know. I think that and it's hard. The reason it's hard for me to answer this directly is because I think we're going to deal with some really unfortunate situations that, and one of them is like a family that I know where I'm not sure if they're going to be able to find their son's body. And
Hmm.
I don't want to throw that out into the ether so much, like just because I want to be hopeful you and I need to sit here and we need to cross our fingers every day and just trust that all the units are doing what they need to be doing and that terrorists who they're trying to destroy are quote unquote doing what they should be doing, which is in this point in time being compliant, and they're not. They're typically not. So it's gonna be a miracle if you ask me, a ness if we get all of these hostages bodies back. Like that to me is a miracle. Um, I think that they, as in Hamas and terrorists, are doing a very good job at continuing to pry at our emotional cords to make us, you and I, because we're having this conversation right now, and they want us to have this conversation. Like they want us to be very in the dark and unknown. And that
Right.
bothers me. That pisses me off because then we fall into the trap of them they corner us into exactly where they want to corner us. And then when they send us a body that isn't even a hostage's body, the amount of lines that have been crossed are incomprehensible at this point, all the way from what happened during the parade of the B-Boss family to
Hmm.
to October 7th. I'm just saying, like, all these lines just get crossed. And and I know I went on a so long-winded answer for your simple question, but just the nuance I think is really important because if I say to you, no, I don't think we're going to find them, that sounds like I'm pretty pessimistic. And if I say to you, like, yeah, we're going to find them, I don't know if that's how I truly feel because I don't. I don't. I actually think that first of all, by definition, we aren't because a lot of them have been killed already. To me, the ones that have been killed and that are not going to be found, and they're not because they can't find them. That's categorized as a no to your question. Where are they? You know what, man? Far away. They're far away. And that to me is that's not okay by any category of any standard at all. And like that's our language that we use today is that we're like the living hostages. It shouldn't be living hostages. It should have at one point just been all hostages, but it got
Yeah.
reduced. And that's something that I have a difficult time talking about because we we have moved on. We've really moved on from that. And that's insane to think that we've moved on from it. Look, I mean, I try to be empathetic when I talk about this conflict, and I didn't have a family member that was taken into Gaza on October 7th, and neither did you. But there are plenty of people who are still dealing with the reality in November 2025 that did, and whose bodies are still not home. And even though we don't do this, I try to just imagine for a moment what that person's morning, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is like. And there are people here that are dealing with that right now, and I know some of them. So it's kind of hard for me to sit here and always be like, like, yeah. So I don't know. I don't think I think we are short-sighted with some of the thinking around this. And I also think we're hidden from a lot of the truth. We're hidden from a lot of the information. That's intentional. It's systemized. I try to maneuver my way around or through it as best as I can. I don't know if you do that when you're looking at this information because you're digesting it from Miami as well. I'm digesting it from Israel too. So
Mm.
what do you think?
I appreciate the answer. I appreciate the answer, but that's a Barack answer. That's why I love talking to you.
Mhm.
You know, you're really gonna run through everything because you've always been a very analytical guy.
I don't want to be
I
easy. That's the thing. I don't want to be easy here. And that's not easy. Like I don't want to challenge you. I don't want to be easy in the thinking because I think that where we are right now requires really deep thought about how we're thinking about these things. And to just be
Yeah.
another guy here on the internet talking about Israel, Palestine, getting asked, we all ask these questions now. And if I'm just going to raise my hand and be like, yeah, I'd say give it 2 or 3 weeks. I think our military is going to do what it needs to do. And I think usually a lot of the times when we analyze things like that, it usually never ends up being that. And that's because we're hidden from the truth. So let me just be realistic. I don't want to feed people, you or the ones watching, or when I watch this myself, I don't want to feed everyone what they want to hear. That's
Right.
not what I do. So, just so I appreciate you appreciating that because that's who I am.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Um, I mean, it's hard to say whether they're going to get him back or not. It's crazy to me that Hamas, I'm not, when I say crazy, I don't think it's surprising, but it's still mind blowing to me that they're willing to send their own people's
Mm,
bodies back instead of
mm.
ours. The world still doesn't put two and two together when they do things like that. They still support them, which is insane to me. Well,
Insane.
let's send a Gazan's body back. I mean, his family doesn't know where he is, whether he's alive or dead. Well, we'll send some random woman, child, man, whoever. Uh, Absolutely mind blowing to me. They don't have
Mind
no
blowing.
value for lives at all. And what do I think of? the remaining 12, 13 hostages. I hope to God they come back, even if they're not alive. I mean, they aren't, and they should still come back because it's better to have their bodies than not have them. It's
Buried in
better to
Israel.
have that. It's better to have that closure buried in Israel. Their parents can at least visit, their family members can at least visit their cemeteries. And I just wanted to add a caveat to say that although they're not my immediate family, they're still family.
Amen.
Even if I haven't met them, and
It's important.
I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
And and what I do hope, though, is I do hope that Israel does claim sovereignty, and it doesn't look
Mm.
like it's going there because Trump is against them. That's something I want to lean into. This leads to another very important discussion.
Just to be clear, we're talking about the Gaza Strip.
Right, right. And I want to get into the Judea and Samaria as well, being that we're talking about sovereignty. But what I want to discuss with you is Trump is completely opposed to the idea of annexing, claiming sovereignty over Gaza and the West Bank, but we'll stick on Gaza for now. It seems that way anyway. Now, you know, there are Americans like Nick Fuentes and his following who like to constantly complain about how Israel's receiving money and aid and assistance from the United States. You know the ins and outs of that. So does
Hmm.
Sahar, Tal, and everyone else who's in the pro-Israel space.
Hmm.
We very much know that America very, very strategically wants this to be the case.
Hmm.
They want to be able to dictate what we do so they can essentially control the region. So if we can't claim sovereignty over Gaza, I mean, and I think we can. I think we just need to get off the tit of the United States. I think this is what we need to do. I don't think we have a choice. I think Israel needs to come to that realization. I spoke to Amir Avivi. You familiar with Amir?
He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So I spoke to Amir Avivi about this, and I said it's not going to necessarily be easy. It's going to take years for Israel to continue to manufacture the weapons that it needs to. It's costly. It's not so easy to do. But it doesn't put us in predicaments like we're in now, where we have Trump, who, as much as you could say he's benefit us and you could say he's been an ally to us,
Hmm.
he then says that we can't do the one thing we need to do the most.
Hmm.
And he's saying, oh well, we don't want to upset the Arab leaders, Abraham Accords. I mean, fine, but if we end up going back to square one again and we leave the Gazans to their own what's the word? We to their own devices,
Hmm.
they're just going to do what they did before. We have to do the one thing we haven't been doing all this time, continuing to pull out of land, give land to them, which never works. The one thing we need to do is is claim sovereignty, is show that the whole country is Israel.
Hmm.
Um, what are your thoughts?
I agree that, well, first of all, if we don't claim sovereignty over the Gaza Strip, I'm confident, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm confident that Israel will maintain a military presence of some sort deeper into the Gaza Strip as a result of what happened 2+
Mm,
months, 2 years ago. Um, which means that Hamas, in a world where Israel does not claim sovereignty over the Gaza Strip post this entire war, Hamas could be the government, but they will not govern without any other entity involved in the governance that is occurring there, which in this case would be the IDF, which they have given basically the green light for the IDF to do that after what they did on October 7th. They have given Israel a green light to be harsher with border and security and protocol. That's what October 7th did. It gave permission for Israelis to say, now we're going to be even more difficult with how you want to create a state for yourself. So they asked for that, which means, um, does the rest of the international community, so lots of people in the world say, no, I don't like that plan, right? Because Israel shouldn't be anywhere inside of a Palestinian state, whatever they want to call Gaza. Cool. But the alternative to the IDF not being there is
mm,
Hamas governing, right? Because
Right.
there is no other office running and there will be no other office running, which means that by definition goes back to pre-October 7th conditions, which is a condition that in no circumstance Israel will agree to, period, end of story. There's zero debate around that. Trump won't. It's a no Arab nation would even endorse that either. Sorry, no Arab nation looking to create ties with Israel would endorse that either. So objectively speaking, it's Israel having a presence, or it's of Hamas, whoever it is, or it's Israel claiming sovereignty,
Hmm.
The question that I don't think I have the answer to, maybe you have a thought about it, it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say, is if they do claim sovereignty over the Gaza Strip, I want to know practically from a 1 through 10 stage plan what it actually, excuse me, looks like with the 2.1 million, 2.12 million, 2.15 million Palestinians currently living inside of the Gaza Strip. I want to know exactly what the operational plan is to create infrastructure for them. And I'm going to tell you why I think that's the most important question. The people in there right now, it doesn't matter to me if they have voiced opinions against Hamas and that they've said we don't want anything to do with Hamas. The far, 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 far majority of the people inside of the Gaza Strip, if they could get away with it yesterday, would commit in October 7th. That is a fact. This is what they
Hmm.
say. This is what they tweet. This is what they scream. This is what they
Hmm.
shout. They have made it
Hmm.
so clear to everyone that this liberation movement, and now with a lot of the prisoners that were released back into the Gaza Strip, they have rounded more troops, which means I, as Barak, if I'm going to be an Israeli citizen living 70 kilometers north of this place that we take sovereignty over, with a large population of people who are ready to do something else against me, I need to understand what Israel and Trump's plan is here with those 2.1, 2.2 million people. And I actually don't think I have a good brewing like idea around what that looks like. I want to hear. So that to me is probably the most important thing because, bro, at the end of the day, that's 2 million people. Those are human
Hmm.
beings and children that have already been indoctrinated. You don't just leave them there and build a fence. That's not how this is going to work. I need to know what happens to them. So that to me is, and I don't really hear a lot of dialogue about that at the moment. There was at one point earlier in the war when Trump was trying to talk about creating this sort of Singapore of the Middle East. I want to know what the plan is for that before I can get to your question about do we annex it.
Right.
So,
I think the sovereignty needs to happen regardless because there can't be as long as there's an idea, as long as
mhm,
there's a feeling that a Palestinian state can exist,
mhm,
which again is the point here wouldn't be a Palestinian state. The point here would
mhm,
be a Palestinian state void of an Israeli state.
mhm,
So we can't allow a Palestinian state to exist. It can't happen. They're not going to have. They're not going to have it. They're going to have to come to terms with that. Many of them never will. Many of them never will come to terms with that. But symbolically, Israel needs to claim sovereignty over both parcels of land, Judea and Samaria and Gaza, to send a message not only to the Gazans and West Bank Arabs, but to the entire world.
mhm,
There's no two states here. There never will be. It's not going to solve the problem. It's not because we are these conquistadors. It's that it's not going to fix anything. It'll bring peace when there's one state. And there will only be one state here. And it'll either be
mhm.
called Israel, Palestine, Timbuktu, or Narnia, whatever you want to call it. There's only going to be one state, and God willing, it'll be Israel. So what will happen with the 2.1? I think they need to be put in a very tough position. I think they need to say, listen, in so many words. We know many of you don't like us, but if you want to stay here, you're going to have to come to a level of acceptance. Okay. I think the ones that, and I'm not saying it'll be easy. I'm not saying that I have this clear answer, but I think if Israel isn't willing to literally forcibly expel them, because we're going to get incredible pressure trying to do that.
Yeah.
I think Israel already kind of has tried to, but the international community just wasn't they weren't taking them in because most Gazans would have left if they had the opportunity. Egypt, Egypt, with the exception of some that had enough money to bribe the border guards, or had some kind of combina, some way to really get in through the border. Um, because the Muslim world wants to keep them there to continue the conflict, religiously, right? The Muslim world's like, as long as we have them there fighting with the Jews, then there's still an opportunity for us to destroy Israel, and that's why there's still refugees in Lebanon and in other parts of the Middle East, and that's why they haven't been taken into citizens in much of the Middle East. Just it's a religiously motivated thing. So super difficult, but I think they need to be put in a very tough position, and we need to stop giving them this facade that there's going to be a state, this facade that, oh, we're just going to live peacefully together. I think we have to be
Hmm.
very honest about it.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree
uh,
with you, by the way. Symbolically, I do. And
mm,
you know, the definition of insanity, as we all know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, it has only led us to further war. And I think October 7th, and I say this a lot, I say variations of this a lot in my content, but October 7th was the green light for Israel to, I think, now say, enough is enough from what other people outside think and feel about what we're doing because they don't have enough information. And the reason that they don't have enough information is exactly how the international community reacted to October 7th. The way that they have reacted is a case study for humanity to show that clearly there are two camps of people receiving very different forms of information about what's going on here. And by a byproduct of that, where person A is receiving boots on the ground reality, former reservist, former IDF, and then other camp is Kathy, who's a sophomore at Columbia, who's never left, Northeast America, who's receiving systematically a very different set of information about the same conflict. And what Israel, I think, in October 7th symbolizes, and I've been bullish on this while also being empathetic, but I do not stand by this two-state BS anymore. Um, I am totally open and have always been open and think we have to be open. There's, there's nothing wrong with, I want Arabs, bro, and Palestinians and Muslims. I don't care that there are mosques here. I don't care that
100%.
my landlord is Arab. I don't care that the bus drivers pull over on the side when their birthright group is going for a dip in the Kinneret and they take out the mat under their bus and pray on the side of the highway. Akhi, inshallah, I think it's beautiful. I don't care, man. I care about treating each other respectfully without violence. And a two-state solution gets nowhere closer to that. So, and
No.
that's what October 7th, I think, has solidified for me. And to your point, if we take sovereignty over Gaza, right? You already understand how the world will react. You can just mentally prepare yourself for the Twitter threads and the videos and CNN, just so we don't have to be so emotional. Let's be ready for what the world's going to say. That will come to a stop, though, because most people who are talking about this conflict don't care. How do I know that's true? Well, it's November 2nd. Since there's been a ceasefire, I haven't seen one word about the flotilla. Greta Thunberg seems to have disappeared off of Earth. And all of the Sudanese Christians and Nigerian Christians and Syrian Christians and Lebanese Christians, as you and I are recording this, who are getting slaughtered, have absolutely no advocacy around them from the same group. That's how I know that these people don't really care about it. So I think Israel needs to take the hit on this massive media bump that we're going to face, which is people are going to claim that we're just genocidal and that we're just taking land, and deal with the repercussions. Um, that still doesn't give me an answer to my question, but I do agree with you that, yeah, man, what, when this is all said and done and the times of Israel can stop saying day number 7, day number 8, when we're done with this, is it just the Gaza Strip again? And that, I don't, that's probably not okay with me or you or anyone here. What I really want to know though is I think a lot of the prisoners that have been released back into Gaza, and I'm saying this analytically, I'm not just saying this because it's my opinion. I'm looking at it from what happened in 2014 with Sinwar. A lot of the prisoners that got released who have this built up revenge systematically in their system have been home now for 4 or 5 weeks. What do you think they're doing? Like, and they're ready for round two. That's what they're doing, man. Like that's what they're, and so that to me is also another reason why like Israel, I need to know what happens with those 2.1 million people, man. I need to know. I say they go to Jordan, but like, Jordan's not going to let them in. Of course, they're not going to let them in because they don't want them. But to me, that's the right answer is because that is their home. That's the Palestinians.
That's where they should go 100%.
Yeah,
Most of them are, yeah, but the reality is this the fact that we even call them Palestinians is kind of silly. Like it's very
I think
nice,
about that too. Yeah.
but it actually it fuels the conflict considerably. And it's
Mm.
because we want to be respectful, right? That we want to say, well, we want to give you an identity too. We want you to feel included and we want you to feel it actually makes the conflict much more complicated because the whole reason the identity exists is to erase ours. It's the
Maybe
reality
we
of it.
should start. Maybe we should start saying Jordanian because they are most of them are Jordanian and
I
Egyptian.
just call them Arabs. I just call them, and the funny thing is some of them are Arabs, some of them are you call them Canaanite, or some of them are this, some of them some. You have pale ones, you have black ones. It's all different kinds of things. Eh, They're not. You know, when it comes to Jews, we come in all shapes and colors, but there's a little bit more clarity, quite a lot more clarity with how our origin started and how everything kind of comes together. We have converts and we have, that's why we don't all look exactly the same. Of course not. But our origin,
Tall does a really good bit with this, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen him do this before, but he does a really good bit. Well, he'll ask somebody, he'll be on a debate, and he'll say, "What's a Palestinian?" And the person will
Mhm,
basically go silent for a few moments, and Tall will say, "Can you describe to me what a Palestinian is?"
right,
And typically the person says, "A person who was born in Palestine." And Tal goes, "That's a circular answer. I need more than that. What is a Palestinian?" And they don't say anything. He goes, "Okay, cool. Well, how about this? I'll tell you what an Israeli is. And then how about you tell me what a Palestinian is?" And he's like, "Well, Israel, it's a nation. We're also an ethnicity, and we have people from all over the world, such as Africa, such as the West, such as Asia, and all these people who come in, and we have formed our own state. We come from all parts of the world. We are a nation, we are an ethnicity. What's a Palestinian?" And they can't answer the question. And I think that
right,
that's the point. The point is that those who claim Palestinian identity don't know what their identity is because there's no basis to what Palestinian is. And that is a very sensitive conversation to have with people who claim Palestinian identity today. Really, you're puncturing somebody's identity, like you're poking at their core.
yeah, it's very
And
offensive for people,
yeah,
for especially for someone in Chicago or Dearborn, where they have such a strong identity of it. They're gonna be like, "Oh, who are you to tell me that my dabka and my
there
kanafa
you
and I
go.
have
There you go.
culture and I have the kafia? There's so much culture. What are you talking about? How dare you? What culture do you have? What is shawarma? Oh, yeah, it wasn't even
Yeah.
shawarma
Yeah.
is actually from Turkey. It's very interesting because that whole argument's very silly anyway. Um, because really, the thing that's funny about ethnicity and culture is, take food. Where does food come from? Some grandma or some mother put something together. She gave it a name. It was a hit. She shared it with her family. Family loved it. Shared it with the neighbors. The neighbors loved it. Next thing you know, it's in a couple of restaurants, and in a couple of years from then, it becomes a national dish. How does a national dish become a national dish? Somebody created it. It became a hit, and now everybody's eating it. And then another country decides to make it their thing, but maybe there's a slight variation. Instead of white rice, they use brown rice, and instead of the habaneros, they're using jalapenos. But all of that is very silly. So I say that to say that I don't mind the Palestinians having their identity, but not void of ours. If
Yeah.
you want to have it, you can have it, but you didn't have a state. If most Jews agreed that if we could have split this and it would have brought peace, most Israelis, at least in the earlier years, were more than willing to do it. Did they want to do it in an ideal world? No. But if it meant peace, they were willing to make those sacrifices. But the
Mm.
reality is the reason it never worked, in my opinion, is because it's more spiritual than that. It's not supposed to work. I believe that Israel is supposed to be Israel, and us trying to cut parts out of it, I think is God's way of saying, Jews, you don't get it. It doesn't work this way.
Mm,
Like, I
mm.
think that's been our mistake is it's very
That's
pragmatic.
interesting.
It's a very pragmatic thing to do to share. Oh, well, why can't we share? But God's saying, no, 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 guys, I gave this to you. This you're not supposed to give it away. Like, and I think that's what the Muslim world's been trying to tell us. Like, guys, if you think it's yours, you're giving it away. It doesn't really seem like it's. Well, I repeat these things a lot on my podcast because it's like I have in real estate. We have a term that's it's not it's not easy, but it's simple, or it's not. I forget how it exactly goes, but the point is this conflict is not easy to solve. But when you really but when you really look at the roots of the problem, like it's a lot simpler than we make it in the sense where
Yeah,
it's a Muslim versus Jewish war. We try to overcomplicate it, where you have Destiny and Myron Gaines arguing about all these accords and the Peel Commission. They're arguing about all these different points in history since 1948. That's not that doesn't matter in the
I
grand scheme
agree.
of things. They're sitting there delving into these little things. Well, but the Jews technically didn't want peace because of if you remember, it doesn't matter. None
I
of that
fully agree.
fucking matters, dude.
Fully agree, man. It's so important you just said that. It's crazy because I remember now that I've been saying something similar for a while, and people think I'm crazy when I say it. Because on one hand, like you just said, this whole thing is very complex, but on the other hand, it's actually very simple. And I think the way that I explain it is it's simply about hate and empathy and the nuances that fall underneath both of those. Because what you just described is hate and empathy. What you described of Israelis for a very long time willing to deploy empathy for people to split this land and live together, and inshallah we have peace. And simultaneously, those who oppose that idea say, not on my watch. And how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to kill you to make sure that you don't get that empathy. And those two things, hate and empathy, have been clawing at each other. And the reason that empathy now is decreased, and I'm saying that on the side of like an Israeli, yeah, what else do you expect 2025 Israelis to think and feel after the past 70, 80 years?
But can I
Like,
add something, Barack? Just a
sure,
quick interjection. Quick
sure.
interjection. The m- it's kind of our mistake. It's not kind of. It's a huge mistake on the Jewish people for not understanding this. And I think we just had to go through these experiences, these terrorist attacks and these wars to hopefully understand that this is never going to be a viable solution.
Mm,
And we keep putting all the onus on the Muslim side, on the Arab side of like, well, you never accepted peace. It's not about that. It's about the fact that this land is not just a piece of land. It's the land where monotheism started. It's the Holy Land. It really is the bedrock of civilization to such an extent. And so if the Jewish people want to make such a claim as we do, we have to really be honest about what that means. And we have to live in that
mm,
truth of what it means. You can't have two states in the Holy Land. It doesn't work. Like,
mm,
we
mm,
should have known that from 1948. We shouldn't have been thinking stupidly as we have.
mm,
The
mm,
Rebbe, the Chabad Rebbe, was trying to drill this into the Israeli leaders, into Netanyahu. You can't give land for peace. It doesn't work.
mm.
So yeah, go back to
No, I actually, there's no reason to speculate on the what ifs and wow, what if we blah, 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 but you are right. And I don't know how it sounds like you're quite spiritual. I'm for sure, I've been on a journey myself for about 7 months now. I'm actually working with a consciousness coach, and we talk deeply about energy, frequency, spirituality. And I've been doing a ton of inner work myself, including plant medicine recently in Los Angeles. And a lot of it is actually through astrology. And even in Kabbalah, you have the Zohar, which fully talks about everything from the stars and energy within our universe. So I'm saying all this because while I agree with you,
Mhm.
um, I'm not going to sit here and regret because I'm at the point in my life where and I read a book called The Surrender Effect, which has really allowed me to dig deeper into this,
Hmm.
is where you and I and we are right now, like the conversation you and I are having right now, we are supposed to be having this conversation. And Israel is in the position it's in right now because it's supposed to. And I actually think and feel that what you just laid out is a big reason for that. And it's hard right now because we're in this dark era because of October 7th and the State of the Union. But I think the light, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that is probably one of them. And it is only strengthened our resolve. That's what the enemies of Israel fail to understand. Not Hamas. Hamas and the Houthis, and they really understand that. That's why they keep doing it. But Kathy at Columbia and her friends,
Right.
what they
Right.
fail to understand is that when you endorse what you call liberation movements, but they're terrorists, when you endorse them abroad, you are just strengthening Israel's resolve to be harder and harsher and continue to weed out this cancer. And so I think that, to your point, that is what we're going through right now. We're going through surgery, and this is the growing pains of surgery. I, man, we may have to redraw the map of Israel in a way where like that is for sure the stamp of approval of don't ever try and do this again. And I think that that's to me that will be a beautiful time, especially at one point where other people have realized that yeah, maybe I've had this wrong for a while. Like Kathy one day will wake up. I think some of those people will. The lights will turn on a little bit. There's no Wi-Fi. Like they don't have any Wi-Fi. They're on they're on airplane mode.
Such a
So
beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
yeah. So but I really love what you just said. It's so much more than dude, those little, I know what you're talking about, man. Like, why are we talking about the Balfour Declaration? Who gives a shit, bro? Let's talk about high level stuff here, man. This is way bigger than that. By the way, if you haven't finished my podcast with Roseanne, wait till you see the part where I pull out my computer and I show her the map. That is what is attributed to what you just said. I kind of want to show you now, but I want you to watch it first, and maybe we can do a part three. I want you to see what I showed Roseanne because it goes to how much protection I wholeheartedly believe we have over this place. I really believe that, man. Like on some biblical, spiritual stuff. So you mean? By the way, what you should clip what you just said. You should post that it's a good bit.
Yeah.
It's a
I
good
think
bit.
so.
Yeah,
Thanks. I'm glad. Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's good stuff. But yeah, this is what you know, I, there are certain things I'm certain about, man, and this is just so clear. And I mean, Mordechai Kedar, Yishai Fleischer, Einat Wolf, Amir Avivi. I mean,
Mm.
he knows it too. Let's be honest, but Ben Gvir and Smotrich, and whatever people want to say about them, I think they are not politically. They are unhinged. They are
Mm.
not the most. They don't sit there and try to be uh, very eloquent and what's the word, tactful necessarily. They say things very very directly, but there are many things they say that we all know is true, and we don't want to come to terms with it. And people want to label them as extremists, especially all the Jews from a lot of Jews from the Reform movement. Oh, I don't align with them, and they're terrible, and they're this. I'm not going to sit here and say that everything they say is great.
Mm-hmm.
Aligning yourself, for example, with Baruch Goldstein, who committed that attack in the Ibrahimi Mosque. Of course, I don't support that. Um, but nonetheless, there's certain things that are true, and this truth that I mentioned of claiming sovereignty, it has to happen in Judea and
Mm-hmm.
Samaria. It'll be better for both sides. Now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there needs to be some sort of Emirates plan in Judea and Samaria. Also, we should stop calling it the West Bank. I think every Jew should make it their goal to stop referring to it as the West Bank because that just negates the importance of what Judea and Samaria is. It's vital to the heart of Israel. It's the heartbeat of Israel. It is, and we need to start treating it like that. Not this disputed territory of settlers. It's just that's what the world has tried to coin it as, and they've
Sure.
been very successful. That is how it's seen. Bunch of rogue, crazy Israelis, and they are crazy. They are. They definitely are. I love it. I don't. There are things they do that are not good, but
Yeah, but there's always more context to that. Like you
yeah.
can say that they're crazy, but then you have to ask yourself, why are they crazy? Like they weren't born crazy.
No, the
They're
environment. Environment
That's what I'm
it
saying. Like
necessitates. Yeah.
there's a cause and effect to everything, right? Like,
Right.
so what's causing them to have this effect of craziness? And that's the piece that most people like to leave out, right? And which is, you know, it's neighbors. It's the neighbors. And I typically don't talk about a lot of the people living in certain areas in Judea and Samaria. I've been there. I've met with them. I've had coffee on the
Hmm.
balconies with them. Um, I'm not surprised they're crazy. Because
Right.
if we can agree that Judea and Samaria is the heartbeat of this region, that means those who live there are going to have to act crazy in order to protect the heartbeat of this region. Sorry,
Yes.
you know,
No, 100%. Yeah,
like
100%. 100%.
they can't take their foot off the gas because it's the heartbeat. So,
Yeah. It's also complicated because there isn't a decisive action there. Meaning that, again,
correct.
that's what if sovereignty happened,
It changes.
there's less of a wild west mentality right now. As someone who served there, someone who actually I have most of my family living there, they there's this dog eat dog mentality. It's like, well, if I don't take this land, the other group's going to take it. If I don't grab this little parcel of land on this hill, they're going to take it. Um, so
Mhm.
it has to happen. That's what I say as far as sovereignty. Now, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up? What's anything whatsoever that you wanted to delve into or mention? Let the viewers know.
Yeah, I would say
By the way, I love the beard because you didn't. I don't believe you had it when we last spoke.
no, not I. I know it. My friends were saying that on FaceTime the other day. I kind of let it, I'm trying to be like you. I can't get to that, but it's the
What do you mean
Ashkenazi.
you can't get to that? You
I
have a great
can't, man.
beard.
I no, but you know what I mean? Like mine's a little patchy. Where's your family from?
We had this conversation, man. I'm Ashkenazi. Uh,
We did, but you just don't look it. You
it's
you have
interesting.
some you have some you don't look like me. You look like you have some spice. Like you add some paprika to your chicken. My
Yeah,
parents
yeah,
just throw
yeah,
salt and pepper.
yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know, man.
Whatever. Well, your beard is not Ashkenazi. But anyways, all I was gonna say was that I want people to pay attention to the individuals that are still at the forefront of trying to raise awareness about this conflict. And the reason I'm saying that is we've seen, man, I fucking predicted this for 2 years. We've seen a lot of people hop off the post October 7th roller coaster of social media engagement because it's not as popular anymore.
Hmm.
And I think people really need to lean into the voices that have been here from the beginning and that are maintaining and continuing to push through to continue to spread awareness because it comes to show who's still having a conversation right now. And that to me means there's a lot of merit to those who are still doing it. Me, you, Tal, Sahar, everyone that you just listed off, who's still at this, who's going at this, because I've been saying for a long time when the overly emotional and underly informed mind of Karen and Kathy and all these people, eventually those emotions go down. It's
Hmm.
how psychology works. And that window slowly is beginning, which means that we should probably think 3 or 4, 5 times harder about deploying real good information and truth about Israel. When somebody's emotional window goes down and their window for opportunity for being receptive to information goes up, it doesn't mean that they're going to agree with you. It just means that they're less emotional. They're not outside at Columbia at the encampment right now. Time has moved on. I think personally, like for me strategically, this is why Roseanne and the 2 other podcasts and like I'm going harder. And I think that people listening and watching, trying to get information about Israel, Palestine, and the Middle East should really, really zone in and find the people that they see and noticed aren't just doing it now, but have been doing it from the beginning. Like our first conversation was very early and still
Hmm.
here. Those people matter the most because they are in it for the right reasons. It's a good thing we're having this conversation now, and it's November, and in 2026, you should still be having conversations. I'm for sure going to still be having conversations. I know
I'm gonna be
talk.
having conversations about this. Listen, I'm going to be having conversations about this. Hopefully, when we actually have some sort of everlasting peace, we can then talk about the peace. You see, like
Bingo.
there are people that only want to talk about it because it's a conflict and it's negative and there's hatred and killing and murder and war and they're just, oh, I'm going to get clicks and algorithm. I want to
Hmm.
talk about it when there's peace, and then we can talk about the music we're doing together, and the restaurants
Thank
the
you.
Arabs and the Jews are opening up together, and the theater, and the art, and the science, and the this, and think about how much money we would both sides would make if we were collaborating and doing business together instead of fighting each other all the time. And that could be a beautiful topic of conversation. You and I could have all these interviews with peaceful people on the Palestinian side, on the Arab side, or whatever. Um, there's never ending discussion, man. Never ending
You
discussion.
you hit
And
you
that
hit the you hit the nail on the head. What I've been saying my past few YouTube videos, I keep saying at the end, I don't want to have this YouTube channel anymore. I want to have a channel where I get to talk about what it's like living with Arabs and Jews and Christians peacefully here. And I want to highlight that for the rest of my life so I can show the world what, like, that's the YouTube channel I want to have. I don't want to be talking more about
right,
deceased
right,
hostage bodies that are not
right,
returned.
dude.
I want to
Right.
go to Jerusalem and show you what peace is like. That is a cool channel, you know, like, so all the power to what you just said, man. Like, at the end of the day, bro, I audit this myself every day. I hope you do too, and I think Tall does. But like, what exactly are you trying to achieve? Are you just looking to build a platform to talk about something trending, and then when it's not trending, you move on? Or are you aiming for something? Like, what are you aiming for? I've been very clear about what my intentions are since I opened my camera 2.5 years ago. My intention is not just talking about the conflict, bro. My intention is injecting so much rational, objective truth to this ether that it has an impact on how people not just perceive this region and narrative, but how they actually are going to talk about it in the world, which it's my responsibility and your responsibility to highlight that. That's what social media is. And in a world where that works, 2034, OtherBarak, and 2034, Soothing Semantics, is you having Arabs on here talking about what it's like living together in Dizengoff. Because right now I can't do that. Like, that's what I'm going for. I don't, hey, like, that's what I'm trying to get to, right? So I think people need to be clear on what they're like. That's why I say, if you're still here talking about it at a high level, I think you have your stars in line. And if you're not
Yeah,
talking about it anymore, you didn't get into it for the right reasons. And man, I it's important because a lot of people did not get into this conversation for the right reasons. I'm just going to leave it at that. Leave it
for
at that.
sure. There are already Arabs that we can speak to. I mean, first of all, of course, we can speak to the Jewish community, but there are. I mean,
No,
there's
no,
a,
no, no,
I'm
no. I meant, of course, sorry to cut you off. I meant
yeah,
in a world where there's peace so that I like, not, of course, there are Arabs we
right,
can speak to. I speak to them all the time. I'm talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
like peace in the Middle East, period.
A true peace. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now you can
Yeah.
go to Kuwait and just do it. You go Algeria.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know what, dude? Honestly, man, it comes down to us not being pussies. I'm telling you, Barack, it comes down to Israel and the Jewish people. Not we have too many pick me Jews. We have too many as the Jew this, as the Jew that. I don't expect us to get everybody on board with us. We're always going to have Jews who are too scared to support us under the pressure. I made a funny video with who did I just do it with? Why am I blanking out? Was it not with Adiel?
What
It was
channel?
with it was on my
Like,
podcast. I had it was with no, I was a guest on Mike Gamal. You know, Coptic Kapara, Coptic
maybe?
Zionist.
Maybe?
You've probably seen his stuff before. He's based in Jersey. He's a super pro Israel um Egyptian Christian. He was actually
Okay.
Muslim for a short time. Anyway, I was on his show and I made a funny reel of me imitating Jews who are super anti-Israel. So I'll send it to you on DM.
Okay.
But we gotta be very clear on what we need to do because it's going to be better for everybody.
Hmm.
And we have a we're the only ones getting in the way. Like primarily, of course, it takes two to tango. We need everyone to be involved. Arabs and Jews need to come to understandings, but we have a lot to do on the Jewish side, on the Israeli side. Like I've said, I
Hmm.
just have to be
Hmm.
very clear. The clarity is what's going to get us over this, and it's not going to be an easy. None of it's easy. None of it ever will be. I think to some degree, if we want an Israel, uh, we might have to live by the sword to an extent.
For the time being, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I think it also, it's also crazy, another spiritual thing. And this might be far-fetched, but I think if you there may be some logic to this. Maybe God doesn't ever want it to be too easy for us because then we become weak, we become soft, we become
Mm,
vulnerable.
mm,
God creating a circumstance where we always have enemies keeps us on our toes, it keeps us strong, it keeps us ready. What would happen if we now have this peace and no one in the world wants to harm us and we're now the Switzerland, but all this time uh the Muslim world's preparing for, I think, what they call a Hudaybiyah, that the plan of oh, it's peaceful now, but we're quietly planning to attack you again. um and I think no matter what, Israel should have a mandatory conscription, because man, a lot of people hate us. And to what if we get too comfortable and then they attack us and we're completely not ready? Our
mhm.
soldiers don't have the morale. They're life's too cushy. We have this Israeli golden age, like Amir Avivi says he believes will happen. But when you have a golden age, when things are very comfortable, when things are affordable, when everyone's living well, people get comfortable, they get soft. And so, as much as I want peace, I'm scared of what that peace could bring, because I know that most Jews don't want to fight wars. We want to just chill and enjoy and make money and raise families. But the downside of things becoming too soft, like I said, is you can have a weak society that's not prepared to defend itself. And I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm scared of that because we've had such a formidable army, a formidable military. It's a weird paradox, but I think it makes sense, no?
On one hand, it makes sense. On the other hand, I think we are going to see a shift in the collective consciousness over the next 30 to 40 years that I think is actually going to lead us into a messianic age. I think I agree with Amir, by the way. Um, More and more people around the world are seeking help and information around how to heal. And I'm not
Hmm.
just talking to you about like a Hamas terrorist. They're not the ones seeking it, but I'm talking to you about like people around the world. You can look at the epidemic of suicidality and depression, anxiety, divorce, um, all of it. And it's getting to the point where it's led to not just Israel, Palestine, and Russia, Ukraine, and everything that unfolded since COVID. You have riots, ICE in LA, and you have people, internal civil wars across the world. Like we have the same phrase coming out of all of our mouths the past 2 years. The world's fucked up. The world's fucked up. Like we all just keep saying the world's effed up. You
Hmm.
just hear everyone on the news, the world, and it's not a coincidence. The reason we all feel that way, and you can look at the astrology into this, is that we are in a time right now of utter destruction of systems and governments that people around the world have had enough of. And it's not just what's happening here in the Middle East, it's what's happening across the world. The politics and governments and people in power with billions and billions of dollars and all this stuff have led to people across the world saying we don't like the way that this is happening. And it's turning into people realizing and looking inward that they have a lot of things they need to fix within themselves too. And what I'm saying is we are also heading into an era where more people across the world are going to be seeking for this information on how to
Right.
elevate their own consciousness. And the reason I agree with Amir is because Israel, as the epicenter of energy and religion globally, has a responsibility of taking the lead of what that looks like as a prescription across the world. This is why people go to Tzfat and they have life-changing experiences. This is why people go to Jerusalem and they have life-changing experiences. It's spiritual beramot, like on levels that you understand this.
Right.
We, and I was thinking about this recently. I actually think that Israeli people have a higher consciousness than a lot of other people in the world, bro. Like we are given an energy here that is hard to describe and duplicate that allows a very beautiful mentality, even in the midst of a lot of chaos and darkness here.
Hmm.
Because you just said it. Most of us just want to live, bro. Most of us just want to, and a lot of people who grow up in darkness typically don't have that perspective. How do I know that? Look at Hamas.
Right.
So we have a responsibility, and I think a lot of people here are going to be teachers, and we're going to create an example. And man, I you're thinking obviously object like you're not wrong for thinking the way you're thinking about being scared about being comfortable with peace, but you're also saying that objectively at how you have seen peace work in the past. What you haven't seen done in the past is the global consciousness come together of saying we need to rise. I'm talking a lot about this lately on my platform because I'm getting into it with the work I'm doing, and
Mhm.
it's a we're going to see a new earth. Believe it or
I
not,
mean, I hope so.
we are
I
we
hope
are
so.
no, we are.
Yeah.
We are, and the reason we're going through what we're going through right now is because you have to go through a lot of bloodshed and war and fighting and darkness in order to rise. That's just how evolution works. So
Right.
we should run this back in 30 years and like, and and see where we are. Because I don't, there's no world where you can convince me or anyone can convince me that what we're living through right now in this Middle East with the red siren alert and bomb, like you can't tell me that that's just going to stay here forever until planet Earth doesn't exist. I don't believe that. And it's definitely
Yeah,
not,
no, no, no.
yeah, no, of
Something will give. Something will give. Yeah,
course it
it'll
will.
either. Yeah, no, there's no question. And I do actually believe that in our lifetime we're going to see a drastic shift in the good direction. And I
In the
think it'll
Middle
happen
East?
sooner. Yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
do. I really do.
yeah.
But I think it's going to. I will die on this hill in terms of the ideas that I've mentioned to you. And the
Mm,
reason I continue to say it over and over and over and over and over and over, claiming sovereignty, Jewish clarity, yada yada, because this is the root of the tree, and we keep trying to repair branches. We keep trying to put duct tape on the branches, and we're trying to, oh, let's maybe water the branches a little, maybe they'll sprout some. The root needs to be healed. The root needs to be
hmm
fixed.
hmm
The pavement's all messed up. The roots are not getting enough nutrients. But that's too complicated to fix the root. Let's just make the branches pretty. Let's just try to.
mm,
It's not working. The tree's dying. You got to fix you got to fix the root of the problem.
mm.
That's what we
It's a good
get.
analogy.
77 years we keep doing branch. Oh, branch breaks. Well, it's easy to fix the branch. Oh, okay, we'll get some. America will help us fix the branches. It'll look pretty. Everything's fine. No, the tree. The
Good.
tree's gonna fall.
It's good.
Truth. It's truth. So
Good. It's a very good
hopefully,
analogy. Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully we'll fix the root, because that's what everybody needs. Mr. Brock, did you have, because you looks like you're pondering. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I know I'm digesting the analogy you just gave because I also use the analogy of like the surgery that Israel's doing has
Yeah.
always been typically attacking symptoms, but for the first time ever, we've made the choice, given that we haven't had one, to attack the source. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Band-aids, man. We keep putting band-aids. I always say that.
Band-Aid. Yeah.
We don't want to heal we don't want to heal it. We don't want to do the necessary procedure or surgery. We just we rip the band-aid off, we put it back on again. It loses its adhesive. We take it off, we try to put a new one on. The wound is still infected, and it's not, we keep ignoring it because it's, oh, we can't heal the wound now. It's not the right time. America doesn't give us enough support. The world's against us. Wound is just there. Nothing. Oh, put a new band-aid. Just put a new band-aid. It'll be fine. Put a new band-aid. Eventually something will just happen magically, and then it'll just, doesn't
Right.
work. Yeah, it doesn't work. So, Mr. Brock, sir, a pleasure as always. Definitely, definitely, we'll have you on for round three. You and I will be doing this content. I don't see any shot of either of us stopping anytime soon. So we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, thank you so much for making it to the end of this episode of Soothing Semantics. This is episode 240. Uh, Make sure to go check out OtherBarak on YouTube, on Instagram, on anywhere on TikTok, Facebook, anywhere else you're on social media. Is there anything? Please, you can support both of us by going to Buy Me a Coffee. He has his Buy Me a Coffee link, which I'm gonna link in the description. There's mine as well. You could support both of us, either of us, whichever you prefer. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention in terms of supporting? Any kind of links, merch, anything of the sort? Patreon. You got a Patreon if you want to do that.
My merchandise is dropping very soon.
Hmm.
But I would say let's shift the focus to supporting, more grassroots project like yours. And so if you were considering giving me a buy me a coffee or something, I would actually rather you delegate that to to the host here. And when someone else creates their own platform and you grow and I continue to grow and we just keep moving, we have to continue to give to the new voices too. So I would say I appreciate it, but I'm going to respectfully decline any incoming buy me a coffees and I'll defer them to you.
You're a gent, man. You're a mensch on a bench.
I mentioned the bench. That's good. I sat
Appreciate
on the
that.
bench a lot.
I know I stole that. I stole that from my friend Matt Rosenberg. That's his line. That's great. I love it.
Of
A
course
mensch
you
on a
got it
bench.
from a Jew. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Shout out to you, Matt.
Thanks, brother.
Okay. Thank you, Brock. Guys, glad you enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace.